Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm glad you're able to join us for this YouTube experience of Christmas Eve. No matter how you've gathered together as a family or whether you're by yourself at home, this is a time to kind of drop in and be in solidarity with everyone who kind of enters into the spirit of this evening. And to begin with, I'm going to invite you to pause this video and gather your Advent candles like I've got here, so you too can participate in the lighting of the Advent wreath. The candles that in some ways represent, all of creation, north, south, east, and west, the big circle of life that holds us all. Tonight we'll spend a moment to light these candles and remember the power and wonder and mystery of this evening. So take a moment and gather your candles and your Advent wreath, or however you want to begin this night together as a family or by yourself at home. And as you do, just pause for a moment and enjoy the music that Martin brings to our gathering as we begin this evening together.
Hello, everyone. "O Come All Ye Faithful" is a song that is used for the opening carol at Christmas Eve and Christmas Day celebrations around the world. And that's the way we'll use it today. This is, in the words of the carol, a joyful and triumphant arrangement of "O Come All Ye Faithful."
Thank you, Martin. Lovely to have Martin guiding us in music tonight. You know, I'm always fascinated that this story, this birth story that we're going to talk about tonight, it all begins in a dream. It is in a dream that the heavens, if you will, or the spirit of the sacred finds itself into the journey of Mary and Joseph. And Joseph has a dream in particular, and he's reminded that the child that will soon be born, this child holds the idea or the wonder of God with us. This child's name will be known as Emmanuel, God present with us. And so it is in a dream that we begin this journey. In so many ways, this season is a way in which we immerse ourselves in that dream, isn't it? We gather around us all of the character of that dream. We invite evergreen into our homes so that we might be reminded that there is the beauty of everlasting life, even in the midst of a season when so many of the trees outside fall barren. We decorate that tree with all the memories of our past, moments, experiences, the reminders of loved ones, the connection to the mystery and wonder of life and light, all fill that tree to remind us that we have entered into a dream. We set up manger scenes connecting us to this dreamscape of a story of old inside of our homes. We hear the music filling our houses during the season. In a sense, we all enter into this dream during this time of year. And this evening, as we gather together, I too want to spend some time with you exploring, what does this dream invite us to imagine when we think about the way God is with us in the world, in our time, in our very flesh and our bones, in the earth that holds us all. It is a dream that invites us into the true gift of life that's manifested in these 4 candles. 4 candles, each one representing something different about what we all long for as we awaken from this dream. Hope, love, joy, and peace. So I invite you to join with me in the lighting of your Advent candles, and with each of the candle lightings I will name the invitation into life that each candle holds for us tonight. So grab your own wonder of the flame, and let us light these candles together this evening as we begin. As we all long not everything goes smoothly, does it? As we all long for hope in our time, as we dream our way into peace for our world. As we imagine together the joy that can hold us all as one, and the experience of love that binds us together like one big, huge human family in the world that we share. And let's pause for a moment and honor this invitation, this dream that may hold us all. And I invite you into a time of just centering around the 4 candles today with this moment of reflection. O sacred gift of life that comes to us as if in a dream in this season, continue to invite us into the experience of love for one another, of peace for our world, of hope for all of humanity and all of life, and the joy that that brings. May we dream alongside of you so that we might awaken to this true experience of life. Amen. I'm glad that you can be a part of this evening together, an evening where I want to maybe play around with the idea of what it means to find our way in a manger. And so this evening I want to share a little bit of that story with you, a story that invites all of us to imagine what it might be like to be born again, to be child again, into a vision of world that somehow creates a new kind of future for us all. That's the promise inside of this dream that we share this evening. I want to just take a moment with you and kind of think about, like, what does it mean, or what does it feel like maybe to be reborn? You've probably had moments in your life when you felt like there's a renewed spirit that comes over you that almost feels like a rebirth. I know I've experienced that when I go back to Vermont oftentimes. We go back in the wintertime and I'm always cold. I'm always cold back there. And my kids have a sauna in the backyard. And when night falls and it's just super cold outside, the kids have been ice skating on the ice skating rink. It's the end of the evening and we all get in our towels and we journey to the sauna. And inside that sauna, with the temperature rising, the fire crackling, grandkids gathered around us, our own kids in conversation, there's a certain kind of melting that happens, right? My body softens and I feel like I'm in deep relationship with those who have gathered together on this cold winter's night. And I tell you, there is this kind of moment that happens when I feel almost like I've been reborn. I've got a new sense of life. My body, it's like my DNA shifts, right? And I'm like, oh, finally, I can breathe again. I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be all right. I'm in relationship with people that matter to me most. That moment in the sauna is a rebirthing moment for me. I have the same thing happen to me sometimes walking along the shoreline in the evening as the sun begins to set and I can hear the ocean waves crashing against the shore, or backpacking in the wilderness, or being in a good play that awakens my senses to something about the human experience that I hadn't otherwise thought about. All these moments are like birthing moments. In fact, there's, in some ways, life is like that, right? It's this invitation to be born over and over and over again, to find our way into birthing moments that invite us into new frontier. If you think about the Gospels, clearly they had a sense that the heart of the good news is an invitation to be reborn. No matter what your life circumstances are, no matter what you're experiencing, that there is the possibility that you too might be born anew. You think about Nicodemus, who comes to Jesus at night, right? And he says, how can I be a part of this whole movement that you've been kind of expressing? And Jesus tells him, look, you got to be born again. And Nicodemus is like, what? I mean, I'm an old man. I can't crawl back into the womb again. And Jesus tells him the story about, look, I'm not talking about a physical birth. I'm talking about birth into the spirit, into the breath of life, into life itself. Be born into this gift of life, Nicodemus. That is the pathway forward, this idea of capacity for rebirth. You probably know a little bit of what that feels like. There are moments in your life when you felt like you've got a new lease on life, or something softens around you so you feel like there's a new way forward. These birthing places in your own life. The Bible narrative, the biblical narrative is just filled with those moments. Jesus, too, integrates them into his parables, right? Parable of the mustard seed, that a mustard seed would, in a sense, die into the ground and then be reborn as a great tree that provides shelter for all the birds in the air. You hear it again and again in the parables of Jesus. You see it in the teachings and the interactions with others. You see it in his healings as well, right? People who are so burdened by dis-ease that they've hit some sort of thick wall and cannot move past it. And in their interaction with Jesus, he somehow breaks that wall down. And they're able to see again, or hear again, or walk again, or breathe again. Each of those moments an invitation to be born anew. I know, the key story for so many is the Easter story, that literally the grave becomes birthing place for this new movement, right? However you understand resurrection, the end ends up being the beginning. The grave is the manger out from which something new is born. We see it over and over again in the Gospels. So I can imagine that those who decided to put a gospel together to construct the story of Jesus, the story that we celebrate on this Christmas Eve, would begin, of course, with a birth story. It is the metaphor of what the whole call to the spiritual life or the sacred life or the religious life is truly all about. Can you find your own birthing way? Is there, in fact, a way in the manger? This invitation to center in on this birthing moment at the beginning of the gospel is what we celebrate tonight, right? We sing "Away in a manger," no crib for a bed. We understand that this birthing moment that Mark, Matthew, and Luke used to introduce their story is really an invitation to all of us to somehow live into our own rebirthing story. It's a birth story that takes place in the middle of all of life's complexities, right? If you read the story, there's political unrest everywhere in this story, and out from that political unrest, a child is born, even though there's no place for that child in the world. There is familial tension. Joseph and Mary, their relationship is somewhat complicated, and scholars will tell you some of the reasons why they think that is, but even out from the tension of relational complexity, a journey is taken and a child is born. And who gathers together on this, inside of this birthing moment? Heavens gather together as the angels show up. Shepherds gather together. The animals are there. It's almost as if to say that all of creation, all of life ultimately conspires so that we all might be birthed anew, again and again and again. I love that our story begins with the birth of a baby in a manger. I'm hoping that the energy of that story is not just about the beginning of the life of Jesus, but rather a reflection of what the essence of Jesus' life and teachings was all about. This invitation that no matter your life circumstances, there is a way for you in the manger. That on this evening, when you mark the birth of Jesus, you're in some ways inviting yourself into the rebirthing process as well. To think about how your life might be reborn so that you can give expression to love and peace and joy and kindness in new ways. That your life can be reborn so that you can accept maybe some of the barriers in your own life and allow them to begin to soften and move through them. This idea of being born so that we might bear light and love in the world is what this night is all about. Tonight, as we gather around the manger, as we celebrate that even out from all of life's complexities, a child can be born to show us a new way, we arrive in some ways on almost like on bended knee, right? And we worship at this place and say, this is the way for us as well. I don't know about you, but given the complexities of the times in which we live and all that we face together as humanity around the world, this is a moment to dream into the possibility that we might too find our way into birthing places. To give ourselves permission to let our own DNA shift so that we might feel like we have a new lease on life. Clearly, this is a night to, with confidence, enter into a story that lets us collectively dream together of a new future. My hope is for you on this Christmas Eve, as you stare into the manger scene and see that small child born there in the manger, that you can imagine for yourself as well pathways to being renewed, pathways to finding moments when you can breathe again, hear again, see again, walk again in new and wonderful ways. As we journey into the long nights that come as we get closer and closer to this time of solstice, this winter time, that we too might fall asleep and dream dreams that invite us into a new and hopeful future together. And with that, I invite you to listen to Martin as he shares with us that great song, Away in a Manger. And as he does, I want you to imagine that you too can find your way in these birthing places into which we're all invited.
Joseph Martin is a composer from Austin, Texas. In this very unique arrangement of Away in a Manger, he combines the familiar tune with an accompaniment in the style of the first Gymnopédie by Eric Satie. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, Martin, for that beautiful music tonight. It's just lovely to integrate the music of Martin into our evening together. I wanted to just kind of wrap up this evening. I know you've got a lot going on at your home. Obviously, so do I. And I'm looking forward to just sort of softening and spending time in the Christmas season, of course. But like many of you, I've been doing a lot of binge watching, Netflix binge watching. And I was struck, I'm not going to tell you the name of the show, but I was struck by a show that ended just a couple of nights ago for me. And I just wanted to unpack that storyline a little bit, because I think it's just such a beautiful storyline to kind of hold this evening as we think about the power or the invitation to be reborn. It's a story about a woman. Her name is Susie, and Susie is expecting that her life is about ready to take off, right? Everything's looking great for her, and then everything begins to fall apart. Her whole sense of family and vocation and relationship all begin to unravel. Quickly, in each episode, she's starting to lose touch with her sense of her connection to her husband, her connection to her career, her connection to her friends, her connection to her own child as mother. And you just watch the unraveling of her story, and it just winds its way deeper and deeper down a hole that seems like there's no return. Susie, who grew up in the entertainment business, began this journey and this whole series as a child singing a song. And yet you can just feel that she has landed in a place that is just so connected from the roots of her own longing of being able to sing her song in the world. And so in the final episode, after she's lost everything, she stands on a bridge. And you can hear the music begin to shift, and you know that she is about ready to end her life on that bridge. And I remember as I'm watching that episode thinking, oh my gosh, is this how this story's going to end? I mean, I'm binge watching, right? So I'm totally into it. And just before she brings her own life to a close, two gentlemen show up on the bridge and ask her if she would take their picture. And at first she refuses, and then she realizes it's a misunderstanding, and so she does. She takes their picture. And as she's taking their picture, one of the gentlemen recognizes her and says, "Aren't you the girl who sang that song long ago that was so famous?" And they begin to sing that song together again. And I can imagine that as she's singing that song, she's returning back to her own childhood, to that moment when her dreams were so vibrant and alive for her, and all of her hopes and longings for the future were present for her. In singing this song together, they journey back to her own birthing place as a child. And in that moment, she asks them, "Do you mind if I come home with you?" And they're a little taken aback. And she says, "No, I just need a place to stay for a little while. I have no place to stay. Do you mind if I just come home with you?" And they invite her to journey with them into home. And as they walk away in the final scene, her inner dialogue reminds her, ultimately, that everywhere is home for her. That despite losing and disconnecting from so much in her life, home is always a possibility. And in that moment, as this series comes to a close, she is reborn. It's a beautiful present-day tale of exactly the essence of the Christmas story. That along the journey of life, there are always moments that invite us into rebirth. My hope for you this Christmas season, and as we move into the new year, that you too can find your way into those moments. That I too can find my way into those moments. That the very earth itself can find its way into those moments. We are born to be reborn again and again and again, so that heaven and nature ultimately can sing the song of life. Let's learn to sing it together, shall we? Amen, and Merry Christmas to you all.
As far as we can tell, the Christmas spiritual, Go Tell It on the Mountain, has been sung ever since Civil War days. But dating any spiritual is a bit tricky because these songs were handed down from generation to generation through oral tradition long before anyone put pen to paper. What we do know is that Go Tell It on the Mountain was first seen in print in a collection of spirituals published in 1907. What I'm about to play then is a rousing rendition of the Christmas spiritual, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, Martin. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of this evening. Obviously, we hope the best for you and your household as you celebrate a unique kind of Christmas during this pandemic. And as you kind of live into the dream world of your own household, however you've decorated your house with all of the reminders of how we're connected to this story, we hope for you that it is a season filled with love and joy and peace and compassion for each other. And we pray that you journey well from the end of this year into the beginning of the next one. Even as you move through winter solstice, which always is a reminder to me that even in the longest of nights begins the promise of springtime. Live into that truth as you journey through this holiday season. Blessings and good night.